Hello and welcome to another episode of Ark Survival Evolved with Tuk Gaming. Today we are going to do a 100 plus hours review and see what we think is good and bad within the game as it stands at the moment. So let's start with the negatives. As I just mentioned, it is an alpha. It still is early release and it is due to change, so therefore some of these issues may be resolved by the time it comes to market. So the first thing on my list is rendering issues. Currently things don't render in properly. You seem to see the inner workings or dynos at somebody's base before the walls render in. More so if you've not actually been to that part of the island before, this can be a little bit annoying, as you'll find you seem to be doing the moonwalk or your dino's doing the moonwalk, and then all of a sudden a door or a wall will render in. This becomes more of an issue if the base has some sort of armaments on it, so they end up starting to being attacked without realising it. Another negative is lag. This seems to be both server and client side, but again I just want to reiterate it is an alpha and I would hope and assume that in time this will be resolved, but at the moment it is a bit of an annoyance. As for the game itself, I think there are really two elements in my mind that are a little bit of a negative. First of all is the grinding and farming. Initially this isn't too bad, obviously you use your pickaxes and so on and so forth to grind. That then goes on to you using the dinos, but it doesn't seem to stop, and as I'll explain later, this just does seem to be a never-ending grind. The final negative as I see it is the lack of PvP on the PvP servers. You do get some in the northern areas of the island, but typically you get a lot of noob killing or people going after low-level people until they're in the tribe, and again I'm going to go on to that in a minute. So on to the positives. What do we think? Well, I think the game's got a great depth to gameplay. There's obviously the elements around taming, and that can be quite complex. Crafting, the elements used from weapons to armor to furnaces to industrial cookers, generators, lifts. There's a whole host there. Base building is also another great element to the game. It's free build to a degree, so you can come up with all sorts of great designs for your base. It's got a level of exploration, caves, underwater caves and so on and so forth. And you also have the customizations, the painting, importing of images, and the ability just to make things your own. So that's pretty cool, I think. I think another thing is, it's really, I really can't stress the point, I guess. It is fairly bug free for an alpha. I've played a few alphas in the past that have been way worse than this. So for an alpha it is really playable, and it is really good, and I cannot stress how good that is. Coupled to that, there's also a lot of regular updates, patches and balancing, and new content being added to the game. Coupled with special events, we've recently had the Halloween and Thanksgiving events. I'm led to believe there's a Christmas event coming up, so they're keeping it fresh. Perhaps in my mind not as fresh as I'd like it, but we'll come on to that later. I think there's a lot of advice and information available on the wiki, which is great. I think a lot of people want to start a game knowing a little bit more than normal about it, perhaps how to craft items that you can need very quickly, so for that I think it's really good for this game. Finally, the graphics and sound are pretty good, the effects are pretty smart. There are a couple of bugs. When you're inside your building it rains, so you get the rain sound inside the building and it still rains through your building. The graphic settings can be set to make the game world look really good. I would like to see surround sound in the game at some point, but perhaps that's something they're going to add at a later date. But overall, I think the visual representation of the game is pretty good. So in conclusion, what do I think? I think starting out is fairly straightforward, though until you build a stone base or join a tribe, prepare to be killed often and have your base raided or even wiped. When I say wiped, this is when a player or tribe comes in and completely destroys your base and kills all your dinos, thus in essence making you start from scratch, albeit you still have your level and your stats. The game world is harsh. Not only do you have to survive from dinosaurs, the elements, hunger, thirst, but as I've just mentioned, it's also players. However, all this combined creates a very good overall survival experience in my mind. One thing I look for in a game is longevity. What is it about the game that will make me come back day after day, week after week? For me at present, I find the continuous grind monotonous. It is fine in the beginning, as I've mentioned, and it does improve slightly with the dinos in the game. However, it doesn't detract from the fact that you constantly need materials. Granted, the materials may be for base defences, so ammo and fertiliser. It may be kibble for constantly taming dinos, or food or water, albeit the latter two aren't too much I had hoped on some level that the PvP would do this, however from what I've seen there is a reluctance on servers for people to take this step, more so due to the fear of retribution, which to be honest I can see on some level. It can take a crazy amount of time to tame dinos or even breed them, so therefore why would you want to risk that? This isn't true across all servers, but it is there on some level from what I've seen. As I said, typically PvP is low level stuff with people who are not in tribes or very small tribes. So in conclusion, I think that I would recommend Ark to people for those who enjoy a survival game. Granted, you may be reluctant to buy the game because of the dinos, but let me reassure you that you soon realise that they actually have a worth within the game, albeit the equivalent in another game, maybe a truck or a vehicle of some description. They do serve a purpose. I really do look forward to what else the developers are going to add, and they do have a continual stream online of their ideas and so on and so forth. So I think overall I will continue to play this game on some level, perhaps not with as much gusto as I have done over the last couple of months. But what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? This is just my opinion. Please feel free to comment below about what you think about Ark Survival Evolved. This is Tic Tac Gaming. Come back soon. Thanks for your time.